What's going on, everyone? So, I believe the San Antonio Spurs have done all the right things so far this offseason. I think adding Chris Paul was the best decision that they could have made. I just think the impact that he's going to have on just the growth and development for these young guys also help them win some more games. I mean, the Chris Paul effect has been massive. I mean, you just go look at his history. He takes teams all the time from, say 40% wins up to like 55% wins, stuff like his just percentage increase, win shares is one of the best. And so I just think that he's really going to do a great job of getting these young guys in order, buying in, keeping, ducks in a row, and then also just be able to help develop the guards, right? Vassell, Castle. I think even Trey Jones is going to do a great job under Chris Paul. And then him also being an extension from Greg Popovich, right? Harrison Barnes, I think, again, is a great veteran wing. I know some people are like, he ain't going to do, but I think a lot of people are missing the point here. It's not about, they didn't go and get Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul because they're like, those are the guys we need to win a championship. I see people leave comments all the time of like, this doesn't make the Spurs a contender. They're not like, what move is? Right? The move that is getting Wemby to be the best version of himself and getting your young guys to develop to the point where they can now handle the workload. And now you are an Oklahoma City Thunder, right? Where you're this great young team with all this upside, all this potential, but you're still one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Chris Paul is a guy that can come in and do that. Look at what he did for SGA. SGA continues to this day to give praise to Chris Paul for what he did. Harrison Barnes is a veteran guy that's going to come in. He's not going to take away from your young guys. He's a guy that fits a role and a need momentarily till you can get that other young guy or that other piece via trade or whatever that makes sense. Harrison Barnes also, he's going to be able to come in and play that specific role, be a good mentor for, your Harrison Ingrams and even the Keldon Johnsons. And he's a guy that has won a championship, was a big piece for Golden State during that run. And he's going to be playing in an offense very similar, right? So, these two acquisitions were great. But the question is where do you go from here? What direction do you head if you're the Spurs? Now, obviously, you could stand pat and just do nothing. And I don't think that that's a terrible option. But you look at, what the roster makeup is right now. And it's okay, you got a bunch of really good young talent. You have basically your point guard for the future locked up in Stephon Castle. You have your two guard in Vassell. You could argue you have a need at the three. Keldon Johnson, I don't think, is ever going to get back into the starting unit. He's been best for them off the bench, and he's kind of like their one trade chip. So he's probably on your way out. You could argue that they could really use a three, although can Harrison Ingram kind of evolve into the guy that they really need and want? I like Harrison Ingram a lot. I think he is really a Spurs player. But, you could argue momentarily right now that maybe you could use position of the three guard, and then you look at kind of like the power forward and center spot. Now, there is an argument to be made that Victor Wembanyama is best at the five, but you got a lot of big European centers that are going to he's going to have to match up with, and you're going to be banging a lot, right? And with Victor's versatility, you have the luxury of playing him at the four and him being that weak side defender, a help defender. Oh my gosh, good luck in that regard. But the beauty is you can slot him at the four, you can slot him at the five. So it gives you the flexibility at either bringing in either position, right? You can bring in a power forward, you can bring in a center. I really like the idea the more that I think about it. I've touched on this before, but I've really kind of looked at kind of the landscape, what's available, what makes sense for the Spurs. I really like the idea of Walker Kessler because it's not just that he's this big body center, which I think would help, right? It would help you for the Denver matchups. You're in the Western Conference. You're going to be going up against Jokic 4 times a season, right? And, now, the Memphis Grizzlies got Zach Edey, who's another big, bruiser, right? So it's it would be nice for San Antonio to kind of get that big bruiser guy. And Walker Kessler has shown the ability to spread the floor a little bit. He's not a guy that's taking, 5 threes a game, and it's probably best you want him around the basket, but he has shown the ability to knock down the occasional three. I think with growth and potential and the upside and you just working with him, I think he's a guy that can continue to improve in that department. He's excellent defensive player. You put him alongside Victor Wembanyama defensively, I think Spurs could end up having the best defensive front court in the next few years. I mean, you might even have that out the gate. I mean, Wemby by himself is probably the best player in the NBA already. I think that he is. I think him and Anthony Davis are the two best big man defenders in the league, but it's neither here nor there. I digress. Where I think a Walker Kessler you can bring in, he's shown the ability to defend, shown the ability to move well. He's 22 years old. He'll be 23 towards the end of this month in July, right? So he still has a ton of room to grow. And this guy is a legit double-double guy. He can rebound well. He can block shots. He can defend. He can, he's a guy you can dump the ball down to and just kind of go to work around the basket, which is what you want, what you need at times, right? When shots not falling, things aren't settling. Have a guy that you can just dump it down to. He can go bully his way and just go get a bucket. I think his ability to make plays out of the post is something else that's very and could potentially be an underrated element of his game. Now, he's not Jokic by any stretch of the imagination, but you have seen him with Utah be able to suck in the defense, demand the double team, and then kick out to the open shooter or kick to the cutter, roll into the rim, right? Those are the kind of tools that you want to see versatility-wise. And now I know the asking price seems high, right? They want 2 firsts based on reports. Originally, it was 1 first, but apparently they turned down 2 firsts from the Knicks. But here's the thing. Not all firsts are created equal. And the Knicks' firsts are terrible. I mean, they're a good, young team that is going to be a contender for probably the next 5 years. So if you're a team like the Jazz and you're looking at the Knicks picks, you're like, none of those picks are going to be good for a while. Like, why do I want any of those picks, right? And obviously San Antonio, they might not want San Antonio's picks long term, right? Because San Antonio's probably going to be a force at some point, but they have you have things like some of the Atlanta picks. Now, I don't know if you'd trade next year's pick for Walker Kessler, but you may be able to use several tools in your toolbox that may be more enticing and not have to sell the farm to go get Walker Kessler. He's only making $3 million. You could easily go and trade for the guy. And I just think you pair him with Victor Wembanyama, and now you got your you legit have your front court for now and the future. And I think Walker Kessler kind of fits the Spurs kind of mold, right? He's a guy that I do think would plug and play. I think he'd be a Pop guy. I think Pop would love him. I think his versatility to just make plays, continue to improve stretching the floor. You got Victor Wembanyama backing you up on the defensive side of things. He can come off the bench. You can start him. You can do whatever you want with him, right? It's a cheap option for a couple of years. Yeah, you're going to have to pay him at some point, but he's probably not going to demand a huge salary. And I just think you basically get a little bit of both, right? You get a guy that makes you better now, but also a guy that will make you better long-term going forward. So you're not compromising the youth movement. You're not compromising, a future move by oh man, we traded a pick that we could have used to get a young guy. And at some point, you're going to have to start consolidating stuff, right? It's great that the Spurs have all these picks and all this stuff, but I mean, you're even seeing the Thunder. It's like, what are they going to do? Are the Spurs really going to have 15 rookies every year recycling through? No, at some point, you're going to have to take picks and you're going to have to make moves to kind of upgrade the roster. So it's you save it and go for a big swing for when a Giannis becomes available, if he becomes available. I don't think that that's the best approach for the Spurs. I think you have the young talent and I think you have the flexibility. And I think you maintain that and you get a piece that makes sense, that helps now, but also could be a huge piece going forward. That has shown the glimpses of he could be a real player in this league. He has the potential to be one of the better centers in this league. I'm not saying he's going to be, elite or, a top 3 center or anything like that, but you don't necessarily need that with Victor. You need somebody that skill set complements Victor, and I think Walker Kessler is one of those guys that complement Victor. And again, Kessler's ability to pass the ball, imagine him just throwing it up and lobbing it up to Victor Wembanyama. The more that I think about it, I look at Chris Paul, I look at Victor Wembanyama. You pair Harrison Barnes and Vassell, right? So now you got shooting, you got guys that can put the ball on the deck and score. You got guys that Chris Paul have outlets to, and then you give him two bigs in Victor Wembanyama and Walker Kessler that he can just dump the ball down to, throw the lob to. Victor's ability to stretch the floor. He can, all the pick and pops, pick and rolls to the basket. I think you create this level of versatility that can make it tough, make it very tough. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think yes, Walker Kessler, go get Walker Kessler? Do you think no, stay away from Kessler? He's not the guy. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.